Hey traders, welcome back to another profit and loss recap video. Today is Wednesday, December 13th. I just finished up trading for the morning and I locked in $1,163 in profits with two trades. In this video, we're going to break down these trades and I'm going to talk about my thought process and exactly what I was looking for in these trades so that hopefully you can take something from my trading and apply it to your own. Very quickly, I want to say that as you're going to see throughout this video, all of my trades were talked about and discussed here in the Market Master group in real time. So if you're interested in hearing about the stocks that I'm trading, as well as working with our team of traders, make sure to come join us in the Market Master group. There's going to be a link down below in the description. So let's go ahead and start off with a losing trade for me today. This was with the stock CYTO. CYTO has had a ton of momentum and movement over the past couple of weeks. If we take a quick look down here at the daily chart, we can see that the price has kind of been all over the place from as little as 9 cents per share all the way up to a high of 86 cents per share, and then back down under 20 cents per share, all within the span of a couple of weeks. On top of that, there's been huge relative volume coming into this stock, some days as high as 70, 80, 100 million shares. And with that in mind, today we had a 1-for-20 reverse split for the shares. So that means that anyone that was holding 20 shares of the stock was now going to be holding 1 share of the stock, but that 1 share was going to have the value 20 times of what it previously was. So in theory, when there is a reverse split, shareholders are not losing any value. They're going to have the same amount of money invested into that stock, but they're just going to have a smaller amount of shares and those share prices are going to be higher. Now at the same time, when a reverse split is done, it's also going to divide the amount of shares in the float by that number of the reverse split. So a 1-for-20 reverse split is going to divide the amount of shares in the float by 20, which is going to make this a very small float of about 350,000 shares, which is based on the previous float size of about 7 million shares. So anyway, all of that being said, that's kind of why this was on my radar today. I knew that if the float was going to be reduced to such a small amount, and this has had so much movement over the past couple of weeks with so much volume coming in and out of the stock, there was a good chance that we could see this have a nice squeeze to the upside. So it was in the trade plans in the Market Master group. We initially get this push up here to the 550 area. We end up getting a volatility halt and then it kind of sells back off to the VWAP. I saw that it was starting to consolidate here over the VWAP, so I took a very small position in this stock. I only took 500 shares, and the reason for that is because the spreads between the bid and the ask at times were 20 cents and at times they were even closer to 50 cents. So I knew that if this was going to start dumping to the downside, I didn't want to be in a large position that I would have to sell very quickly because I would have ended up with a lot of slippage and it would have turned into a big loss very quickly. So it moved in my favor a bit, but it just didn't have the volume that I was looking for and it just did not get quite to the level that I was looking for to sell and lock in profits. And that being said, once it started to dump back underneath the VWAP and underneath $5 per share, I sold my shares and took a pretty small loss of $199 on that trade. Thankfully, if we take a look at the chart for RSLS, this was my main trade for today, and I was able to make $1,363 on this trade alone, which easily was able to recoup the losses from that trade in CYTO. So let's go ahead and break down this trade in RSLS. This morning in pre-market, we had quite a few stocks that were gapping up. A few of the main ones were STTK, which was gapping up at about 920 this morning, 111%. RSLS was up 61%. CCCC, which was a big mover the previous day as well, was gapping up 38%, and so on and so forth. And one thing that we do every single day in the Market Master group is we post the opening range breakout levels for the stocks that have the best chance of a gap and go. So as you can see, those 3 that I just mentioned are here with their opening range breakout levels posted. And the one, of course, that we're focusing on is RSLS, which had an opening range breakout level of about 42 cents. So if we zoom into the open here and just draw that level on the chart, so we have a very clear level to use for our breakout, it's going to be right there. And once the price starts to push above that level, that is when this is technically considered an opening range breakout. Now, the reason that I traded RSLS as opposed to any of the other stocks that were gapping up this morning and posted with their opening range breakout levels is because at the time of this trade, there were actually no other stocks from that list that were above their opening range breakout levels. So I missed this initial push through the opening range breakout level up to a high of about 47 cents. However, we can see it pretty quickly gets rejected back down, bounces off of the VWAP, and starts to curl back above that opening range breakout level once again. So in that area, I started to take a starter position. I added some shares into that as it was starting to curl up with volume increasing back up as well. I then locked in a portion of my profits very quickly as it spiked back up into that previous high. And then we get this consolidation period that happens here. And I want to zoom into these candles because there is a very bullish signal that a lot of people probably wouldn't notice. And that is these candlesticks down here that have these long lower wicks that also are slightly above the previous ones. So these are all considered very short-term higher lows. And basically what that represents is that there is a lot of demand in this area. Every time the price comes down into that area, the price is immediately pushed back up. And that happens time and time again here with this example. So I noticed that, and I actually added some shares back into this trade after having just sold some into those previous highs. So again, I want to reiterate that my trades are talked about and discussed in the Market Master group in real time. So I did mention that I was locking in profits and that I was holding the rest of my shares for a pop over 50 cents. As one of our traders mentioned, there was offers starting to stack up on the level 2 at about 48 cents. It was really struggling with that area, but if it started to pop through that area, there was most likely going to be a great opportunity to sell and lock in the rest of our profits. And I mentioned that I was going to continue holding on to my shares. However, if I had a worse entry, if I didn't have such a solid entry from the low 40-cent area, I most likely would have just sold the rest of my shares. But because I was very comfortable with my entry and I knew that I had a very clear level of risk in mind, this was still worth holding onto for that potential breakout over 48 cents. So it does obviously end up pushing through those previous morning highs and through that 48-cent area. And I locked in the rest of my profits in the 53-cent area. Again, leading to $1,363 in profits on this trade, which because of my earlier loss with CYTO, brought my overall profits for the day to $1,163. So I'm pretty happy with how this trade went, and I think it was a really solid opportunity for an opening range breakout this morning. This really demonstrates the power of this strategy. This was a trade that really only lasted just under an hour. And within that hour, there was a great opportunity to profit from this trade. And another thing to take away from these trades today that I think can be a very important lesson for other traders is that if we take a look once again at the trades themselves and kind of the total cost of each of these trades, you'll notice that, again, I only had a 500 share position in CYTO versus a total share position of 18,882 shares in RSLS. And that's simply because of the setup in RSLS versus the setup in CYTO and my confidence level in those two trades. And one common mistake that a lot of traders deal with is putting the same amount of money into every single one of the setups that they trade, regardless of how confident they may be in that trade and in that setup. And if I would have done that same thing today, my loss in CYTO would have been much larger, and my overall profits for the day most likely would have been much, much smaller. So, have an idea of which setups historically kind of work best for you. You can do that by simply feeling it out or by tracking data for each individual setup that you trade. And once you have that information, you can start to take smaller positions in the setups that maybe are a little bit riskier or that don't historically work out that well for you. And on the other side of the spectrum, you can scale into larger positions with the setups that you tend to make most of your profits from. Alright, but anyway, those were my trades for today. I hope you found some value in this video, and if you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you want to hear about these stocks that I'm trading in real time and you want to work with our team of traders, get access to our day trade and swing trade alerts, our detailed trade plans, our live custom scanner streams, and so on and so forth, all of that can be found in the Market Master group. There's going to be a link down below in the description for you to get signed up. Anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck with your trading.